Think getting hurt in medieval times just meant a quick death on the battlefield. The reality was much worse. What happened to wounded soldiers after the fighting stopped will make you grateful for every piece of modern medical technology you've never thought about. We are talking about an era where a simple arrow wound had a better chance of killing you slowly over days than ending your life quickly in battle. The medical treatment you would receive would probably do more damage than the original injury. Survival often depended less on how bad your wound was and more on whether you had enough gold to buy your way out of medieval medicine's idea of helping. What you're about to discover about medieval battlefield medicine will show you that sometimes the cure really was worse than the disease. Let's start with what happened when a crossbow bolt punched through your leg at the Battle of Agincourt. It is October 25th, 1415, and you are a common foot soldier in Henry V's army at Agincourt. The French crossbow bolt that just slammed into your thigh feels like someone hit you with a burning hammer. Here is what your medieval mind does not understand. The moment of impact is not when you start dying. It is the beginning of a long, agonizing process that medieval medicine is about to make infinitely worse. The bolt has punched clean through your leg muscle and snapped your femur. In the modern world, this would be painful but survivable with proper treatment. In 1415, you have received what amounts to a death sentence, and the worst part is that it is going to take weeks to kill you. Right now, you are still conscious and the adrenaline is keeping the worst of the pain at bay. You manage to crawl behind the English lines where other wounded soldiers are being gathered. This is where you get your first glimpse of medieval battlefield medicine in action. And it is not encouraging. The physician treating wounded soldiers is actually a barber who learned surgery the same way he learned to cut hair, by watching someone else do it and hoping for the best. He has no formal medical training, no understanding of anatomy beyond what he can see with his eyes, and absolutely no concept of what causes infection. His medical toolkit consists of a rusty knife, some dirty bandages, a bottle of wine, and if you are really unlucky, a pot of boiling oil. What makes this truly terrifying is that he is considered one of the better medical options available on a medieval battlefield. The barber surgeon takes one look at the crossbow bolt sticking out of your leg and makes this his first critical decision. He is going to try to remove it. In a modern hospital, this would involve careful imaging, sterile conditions, and precise surgical technique. In medieval times, it involves grabbing the bolt with pliers and yanking as hard as possible. The bolt breaks off, leaving the metal tip embedded deep in your shattered bone. The barber surgeon responds by digging around in the wound with his unwashed fingers, trying to fish out the metal fragments. Each probe sends waves of agony through your body and pushes dirt, fabric, and other debris deeper into the wound. When he finally gives up on removing the bolt tip, he decides the wound needs to be cleaned. His method for cleaning involves pouring wine directly into the open wound. That is not the worst idea because alcohol can have antiseptic properties. Then he packs the wound with whatever materials he has on hand: strips of cloth that have been used on previous patients, spiderwebs gathered from around the camp, and if he is feeling particularly medical, some honey mixed with herbs. Here is where medieval medicine takes a turn for the truly horrifying. The barber surgeon believes wounds heal better when they produce something he calls laudable pus, a thick yellowish discharge that he thinks indicates the body is healing itself. In reality, pus is a sign of serious infection. Encouraging its production is essentially a guarantee that you will die from sepsis. He deliberately creates conditions that promote infection because he believes he is helping you heal. 3 days after your injury, the real nightmare begins. Your leg has swollen to twice its normal size. The skin around the wound has turned angry shades of red and black. The smell coming from the bandages makes other soldiers avoid your area of the medical tent. You are developing what medieval physicians would hopefully call laudable pus, but what we now know is a severe bacterial infection that is rapidly spreading through your bloodstream. Your fever has spiked to dangerous levels. You are delirious most of the time, and the pain has become so intense that you are begging for someone to cut your leg off. The barber surgeon examining your wound sees all of this and concludes that you're healing well. The pus is exactly what he hoped to see. The swelling indicates that your body is working on the problem, and the fever is just part of the natural process. He is so encouraged by your progress that he removes your bandages and squeezes out more pus. Even if he realized you needed an amputation, the procedure itself would probably kill you faster than the infection. Medieval amputation involved strapping you to a wooden table, placing a tourniquet above the cut site, and sawing through your bone with whatever cutting tools were available. The entire procedure was designed to be completed in less than a minute because there was no way to manage pain or blood loss for long. If you survived the shock of having your legs sawed off while conscious, you then had to hope the stump did not become infected. which happened in the majority of cases. The mortality rate for amputations in that era hovered around 4 in 10 for arms and legs, and climbed even higher for major joints. Those are terrible odds, yet they may still be better than your current situation. While you are dying of infection in a medieval medical tent, it helps to understand just how completely wrong the prevailing theory of medicine was. Physicians believed illness arose from an imbalance of 4 humours in the body: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. They think your infection is happening because you have too much blood, so the solution is to make you bleed more through bloodletting. Using leeches or opening a vein with a knife, they drain pints of blood from your already weakened body. They believe this will restore balance. In truth, it makes it even harder for your immune system to fight the infection that is killing you. The maddening part is that medieval practitioners were not completely ignorant about what sometimes worked. They saw that honey seemed to help wounds heal faster, so they used it. They noticed that wine could help clean injuries. They even observed that maggots can remove dead tissue from wounds. What they lacked was the underlying understanding of why these things helped. Medieval medicine was a patchwork of accidental discoveries, mixed with deeply wrong theories about how the body works. Sometimes they stumbled onto treatments that helped. Just as often, they prescribed something that killed a patient faster than the original injury. Class determined survival as much as the wound did. If you were a wealthy noble instead of a common soldier, your chances would rise dramatically. When Prince Henry, later Henry V, took an arrow to the face at the Battle of Shrewsbury in 1403, he received treatment from John Bradmore, one of the most skilled surgeons in England. Bradmore spent 3 weeks carefully treating Henry's wound. He used specially designed instruments to extract the arrowhead, applied honey preparations to prevent infection, and provided continuous care until the wound healed completely. Henry not only survived, but went on to become one of England's most famous kings. The difference between Henry's treatment and yours is not only surgical skill, it is resources. Bradmore had access to the best equipment available, high-quality materials such as pure honey and good wine, and, most importantly, time. He could devote weeks to a single patient because the royal treasury paid him to do so. As a common soldier, you get whatever attention the barber surgeon can spare while treating dozens of other wounded men. Your supplies are whatever can be scrounged from the battlefield. If you're not improving within a few days, you're likely moved outside the camp to die with the other hopeless cases. Even with the best care available at the time, survival still came down to luck. The fundamental problem was not that practitioners were cruel or lazy, it was that they had no understanding of what actually causes disease and infection. Germ theory would not be discovered until the 19th century, which means medieval physicians had no concept of bacteria, viruses, or sterile technique. This ignorance produced practices that seem insane to modern eyes. Surgeons moved from patient to patient without washing their hands or their instruments. They reused bandages soaked in infected blood and pus. They encouraged the formation of pus because they thought it meant healing. Worse, prevailing theory discouraged habits that might have helped. Keeping wounds clean and dry was seen as interfering with nature. Bloodletting drained strength from bodies that needed every reserve to survive. The result was a medical system that often managed to kill patients who might have lived if left alone. Archaeological evidence shows that many people recovered from serious injuries, including broken bones and even skull fractures. Those survivals appear to have happened despite medical intervention rather than because of it. 2 weeks after taking that crossbow bolt to your leg, you are finally dying. The infection has spread through your body and your immune system has been overwhelmed by bacterial toxins and by the very treatments that were supposed to save you. Your leg is now black with gangrene. The smell is so intense that even the medical staff avoid your cot. You're barely conscious most of the time. The barber surgeon who treated your initial wound has moved on to other patients, and you have been placed in the part of the tent reserved for men expected to die within days. You're not alone. Medieval battlefields produced hundreds like you. Many who survived the fighting died in the weeks afterward from infections that modern medicine would treat with a course of antibiotics. The most tragic part is that your death was not inevitable. The crossbow wound that started this nightmare was painful but survivable. With basic sterile technique, antibiotics, and proper wound care, you would have walked away from Agincourt with a scar and a story to tell your grandchildren. Instead, you became another casualty of a system built on ignorance and good intentions. So here is the question that military historians still debate. Were medieval soldiers better off receiving the treatment available to them, or would they have been safer bandaging their own wounds and hoping for the best? Evidence suggests many people did recover from serious injuries during the period, but it is unclear how many of those recoveries happened because of intervention versus in spite of it. What we do know is that medieval medicine killed a great number of people who might have survived with no treatment at all. The physicians and barber surgeons who tended battlefield wounds were not evil. They were working with the best knowledge available and often risked their lives to help. Their fundamental misunderstanding of disease and infection turned them into unwitting killers who caused more harm than good. Medieval battlefield medicine stands as one of history's most tragic examples of good intentions leading to terrible outcomes. These men dedicated their lives to healing, yet their methods were so wrong that they probably killed more soldiers than they saved. The next time you get a cut and reach for antiseptic and a sterile bandage, remember that you are using knowledge that took humanity centuries to piece together. Be grateful that you live in an era where getting wounded does not automatically mean being killed by the people trying to help. Would you take your chances with a medieval barber surgeon, or would you wrap the wound in clean cloth and hope for the best? Tell us in the comments, and if you want more true accounts of power, pain and survival from the past, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.